Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy. And joining me this morning, Hartwell. How are you this morning, Hartwell?
I'm well, Kris. How are you?
I am good, thank you. Other than having to sweep snow again today, I'm doing good. and so today we're going to start off by continuing our talk on the Ring of Humanity. So this is part two, and the gates that we're looking at are 51, 10, and 38. Thank you for joining us again this week and for allowing us to break these things up. So, can we start with the Gene Key 51, Hartwell?
Sure. This is the Ring of Humanity we've been looking at. We looked at 25 and 17 and something else already. Now it's the 51. And the 51 is quite intriguing because it's in the ego center. It's still, of course, related to that amino acid of arginine. And the 51 is specifically, it is the gallbladder. That's where it resides. But this is a journey from agitation to awakening via the way of initiative. So this is quite an interesting one because it bridges the lower and the higher self. Now, as we go through this, learn to recognize the operation of all these things in yourself. The
Mhm.
shadow, agitation, is that sense of anything could go wrong at any time. The forest fire comes along and it wipes out your suburb, but it leaves somebody else's suburb alone.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like the tower card. There's this
Mhm.
feeling of there's this subliminal feeling that anything could happen at any time.
Mhm.
And it's like, your neighbor, your neighbor down the road, they have a son who gets killed in a car accident, and you have a son or a daughter too. And it's like, oh my God, that didn't happen to me. But there's that sense that
It
it
could.
could.
Mhm.
So that's the agitation that lives within us.
Mhm.
You know, this sense that life is beyond our control. And so there's a real relationship here to the fear of death as well. you know
Mhm.
and like all shadow states and all fear is rooted in our lack of trust in life.
Mhm.
But here there's that energy of, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do? I can't do anything about it because the world is outside of my control. But
Mhm.
when we get to the gift level of initiative,
Mhm.
initiative is that agitation, that competitive spirit channeled towards creativity, towards our own individual empowerment.
Mhm.
So 51 can be quite shocking. These are the people that want to challenge the limits of life. They want to discover their own truth. Sometimes they're risk takers, like, people who are into extreme sports.
Mhm.
That's the kind of energy, this dauntlessness. If you've watched the movie Divergent and the clan of Dauntless, they do these freaky ass things because but now that agitation is more leading towards initiative.
Yes,
Um, does that make sense?
it does. I just kind of giggle because it was like that crazy ass stuff. I'm like, how often do we see people doing crazy ass stuff? It's like there's a lot of people out there that are challenged by the fact that somebody said they can't do something,
Right.
and then they
Yes.
have to like prove them wrong. So I'm going to prove
Right.
them
Or
wrong by.
the people that are motivated by a dare,
Hmm. Yeah,
or oh, you're chicken? I guess you're too much of a coward to do that, eh?
yeah,
The say
exactly.
we the say which is still a theme that shows up in
Hmm.
the relationships, you know, um, between men.
Hmm.
Um, but this is the urge to discover our own truth,
Hmm.
and to take that leap into the higher self at the gift level.
Right.
At the level of the city, it's about awakening itself.
Hmm.
And when it comes to awakening, there is that. there is that sense of it's very simple. You're either awake or you're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
There's no kind of middle ground. There is no kind of waffling. Oh, can't I be like, well, I'm 30% awake, aren't I?
Mm-hmm.
But from the point of view of the higher self, and remember, I mean, the city of awakening, remember, all these cities are like enlightenment level gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And at the level of awakening, it's like, okay, I'm awake now. Before I was asleep, and there is no going back, and there is no, it's like once the leap is made, the leap is made. There's no faking it.
It's
And so
like once you've
that's,
seen something, you can't unsee it, right? It's like it's there.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of people fake awakening, Kris. A
Yeah.
lot of people talk about having been awakened, but yeah, no, no.
Oh.
It's a different vibration, and so there are a lot of people who fake it, but you can sense that, right? It's
So
a vibration.
Leah just tuned in and she said, how does this apply to the current overwhelming anxiety being experienced? I've had a couple of experiences over the past week when at work. I dealt with both with compassion. I'm concerned for my fellow souls and humans. So how does gate 51 tie into that?
Well, it doesn't necessarily, because nervousness or anxiety can can take many different shapes and many different forms. Um, I mean, it also depends upon your own energetic system. Do you have the 51 as, a grounding aspect of your design? So there's no quick or easy answer to that one, Leah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 51 may or may not be relevant in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the way that you were able to manage that might have been related to one of your other gifts or talents or the things that you've cultivated. So let's move along, because this is a rapid fire review. Um, Gate 10, which in human design is called the gate of the behavior of the self. It's all about self-love. And this is the journey from self-obsession to being, pure being via the way of naturalness. So at the shadow level, self-obsession is, it's a journey that's about self-love. But here with self-obsession, we fear that we have no identity, or we fear that we're going to lose our identity. And
Mm-hmm.
so it makes us obsessed with our own uniqueness. I want to find my uniqueness. What's
Mm-hmm.
truly mine? We get obsessed with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we try and find what makes me unique, what makes me
Special.
special.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes circular because, it can become very, remember, each of these shadows can operate in a kind of passive energy, which here would be self-denying. Oh yeah, I'm not going to search for my own uniqueness. I don't believe in self-love. Or it can turn the other way and become aggressive and turn into narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how this shadow of self-obsession plays itself out, especially, as we look at the lives of people in the media and the
Mm-hmm.
movie stars and such. But at the gift level, it's lovely. It's lovely. Here is where, you know, self-obsession has exhausted itself.
Mm-hmm.
But a sense of naturalness arises, which is creative, which is playful, um, and where we enter into a whole process of questioning. So this whole process can take quite some time. There's 5
Mm-hmm.
steps to it, and I won't go through all the steps. But this is one of the classic routes kind of toward enlightenment, deep questioning that lasts a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and finally the exhaustion with the questioning.
Mm-hmm.
It leads to relaxation. And then finally, the emergence of your essential self, which was there all along, joyous and purposeful and natural, natural like the creatures that we share the planet with. And
So,
at the highest level, the city level, this matures, transforms into pure
mhm,
being.
mhm.
This is not the path of the bodhisattva, the path of becoming. This is the path of relaxing into the state of pure being. And I mean, can I describe that any better? Not really.
Yeah,
I don't have the 10. And it's
yeah.
like, you might find sometimes it's like, oh, Hartwell really seemed to explain that one really, really well. And
So
others, it's
we have another question from Leah. She said, "Can these gates apply to more than just I, as in a public or humanity as a whole? Can humanity have a shadow or a gift?"
humanity has all these shadows and all these gifts and all these cities because we all share in the potentiality of these 64. So they're alive and interacting with each other at all times in every situation. And if you learn this language, which is the language that's fundamental to our expression, these are all the mythologies that play themselves out in our lives as our stories, as our struggles. If you tune into this language, you may begin to sense these are the stories that are playing themselves out in my life. And these are the stories that I see playing out in my son's or husband's or daughter's life.
Mhm.
So they're all around us everywhere. Every book you take off the shelf in your children's library is about these things.
Mhm.
And we are all working with these shadows because they're part of our ongoing legacy. Shall we go to the last one?
So our last one is 38.
And then we need to summarize this code of
Yeah.
humanity, this ring. The 38 is the gate of struggle in human design. It is the struggle. It is the journey from struggle to honor via the way of perseverance. So, at the lowest levels of struggle, the shadow fear based level, which all shadows are, um, this is about survival of the fittest. It's deeply connected to physical health. And it often, it manifests in people who will argue with you just for what feels like the sake of arguing. It's like you're arguing just for the sake of arguing. You're just being a bleep, and it's like, and we see
Careful,
this
I
in
have 38, don't I?
well, I have.
Mm. Hence our friendly
Ah,
banter.
yeah, yeah. No, and my brother has, oh, stubborn, stubborn, stubborn. So
Mhm.
this is fighting for the sake of it, where there's no purpose.
Mhm.
And it's just so, it's exhausting. But at the level of the gift, where love is taking more, is where fear is giving way to love, we start to transcend our sense of separateness by in exploring our individuality in a way that serves a goal beyond ourself.
Mhm.
So the fight now is not about fighting against other people or this sort of fear-based survival struggle. Now that energy is being turned towards a goal beyond yourself.
Yeah.
And the energy takes a huge change. When
Mhm.
we're fighting for something bigger, when we're fighting for a cause, everything changes.
Yeah, it's that
And then
perseverance that not giving up is what it shows up as, right? So, I'm gonna help humanity by doing this, and it doesn't matter how many obstacles are in my way. I'm gonna go past that, right?
that's right. And it's a beautiful thing because then we fight for love.
Mm-hmm.
We fight for love and out of love, not out of fear. These people become our heroes
Mm-hmm.
and they love the obstacles. They
Mm-hmm.
love to rub up against um, the obstacles because they know that they're going to prevail. They know that they're going to win.
Well, they look at them as opportunities, is what I've noticed. They don't look at them as obstacles. These people that actually enjoy the journey of becoming and taking over, is those aren't obstacles. Those are opportunities for me to find a different way of doing things, or
Yes,
you
and
know.
a different way for me to serve the purpose
Mhm.
that I'm serving.
Exactly.
And at the highest level, this becomes honor,
Mhm.
where any act that brings people into a higher frequency, brings them into a sense of unity, is an act of honor. I love what Richard says here. He says, to honor someone is to hold them to their highest frequency, no matter what their current frequency might be.
Mhm.
So the ultimate fight is the fight against fear. As the true warrior of light, the 38th city does not fight the layer in nature. Rather, it absorbs the forces of darkness deep inside itself through its actions, and doing so shines out with immense purity in the world.
Mm.
So, as all cities, it's just lovely.
Yeah.
So
So
what does all this amount to,
mhm.
Kris?
That's a good question.
Um, the Ring of Humanity seems to be about some of the energies that really um, underlie our sense of the drama and the sense of the primary myths of human life. Um, they hold the keys to the great mythic stories. Um, as Richard Rudd summarizes it, he says, we are wounded from the outset, which is gate 25.
Mhm.
And we must do battle with our shadows, gate 38, and overcome the limitations of our mind, which was 17. Surrender our need to control life, which is 21. And find our true self, 10, before we awaken. So you can see, in a nutshell, that's a pretty good way of summarizing. Wounded
Mhm.
from the outset, we do battle with our shadows, overcome the limitations of our mind, surrender our need for control, and find our true self as we awaken.
Mm.
So, to put it another way, these gift frequencies show us 6 essential human attributes that are natural and inherent to our species:
Mhm.
the gift of naturalness, the gift of farsightedness, the gift of authority, the authority that arises from, be of service to life, acceptance,
Mhm.
perseverance, and initiative. Many of these deal with love and our capacity to trust the authority of our heart. That's what the Ring of Humanity is all about. I'm
So
finding I'm finding that as I read and discuss and study all of these, it feels like things are being activated in me, which is
mhm.
a you know
Yeah.
which is in our new age sort of communities, this is what we talk a lot about the codes that activate us into higher awareness. And
Mhm.
this is what we're seeking to do here, I think. Does that
Exactly.
makes
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense. So, do we know which gene or which codon ring we're going on to next week?
we do. We're going on to the codon ring of life and death,
Ooh.
which has six,
Mhm.
which has six gene keys to talk about. So I'll probably split it into two:
Right.
42 and 3 and 27, 24, 23, and 20. I mean, that probably doesn't mean much to you, but there
No,
it
but
is.
they can check it out if they want to look ahead of time. So first of all, let me thank you all for joining us this morning and for the great questions and the interaction. We love that.
Yeah, love
Um,
that.
yeah. And so hopefully you continue watching us, and we'll appreciate any sharing of this information, so that we can get it out to the public, and that they can like and follow our channel. Um, the other thing is, if anybody wants to dive deeper, we can also provide more readings and counselings here at Clarity through Hartwell. So if you're interested, you can call us at 587-596-3333. And with that, we're going to say God bless. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next Wednesday.